crack of, you know what, to get to see sunrise at Edfu, and that's why we're up at 5:30 in the morning.
Well, yeah, left at 5:30 in the morning. It's still a little dark out.
Good morning, everybody. As you can see, we had a very early morning, a very early start to make our way to the Temple of Horus at Edfu.
Yeah, I could have missed it had it not been for my husband waking me up, because I set my alarm the wrong way and I set it for 5:45 instead of 4:45. We left at 5:30. The reason being is because the temple opens at 6. You have to queue up before that, and the boat that we're on had to leave at about 7:30ish today to head up to Luxor. We have to go through some locks, and there can be some boat traffic getting through that. So we had a short window of time at the temple. We only had about an hour and 20 minutes to really take everything in, because we couldn't get through the gate until 6. So we didn't get to film any information about the temple itself while we were there. So just giving you a little bit of background information about the temple. As Darren mentioned, the Edfu Temple is the temple that was dedicated to the god Horus. And it basically was a tribute to Horus teaming up with sun god Ra to defeat the evil god Set. And there's this whole, story in ancient Egyptian mythology. And this temple was basically built as an homage to that pairing, and then the eventual victory of Horus over Set. This temple was covered in sand. It was literally buried under thousands of years of sand, and they didn't even realize that the temple was there. When they started unearthing it in the 1800s, they realized there was basically a wall that was built outside the temple, and people from the town were actually taking the bricks from the wall to help build their homes, because they didn't understand what the wall was meant to protect. And then an Egyptologist came in and discovered that in fact there was a temple there. They unearthed it, and then people stopped removing pieces from that wall, and the temple's been preserved ever since.
And in fact, if you look closely, and during the tours they'll point it out there, the original paint color is still visible in several areas, which is really amazing.
It's a really, really fascinating site. It's beautiful. There are some really cool monuments of Horus, these really gorgeous stone figures that were carved of the bird, the Horus the bird. It was in granite, and they're in fantastic shape. They're really, really beautiful. And my only regret is that we just didn't have enough time there. I wish we had more time to just take it all in, because it really is spectacular and totally a sight to see.
Yeah, they were rushed for time, because we're trying to, all these boats are, and there's behind us, behind the camera, there's at least 8 or 9 of these river boats like ours. We just passed one, and there's 3 or 4 ahead of us. We're all running to get to the lock, and I don't know how many. We'll see around 10:45 how many boats can fit in the locks, and and we go up and then move on. But everybody's rushing to get to these locks to get in line and get through and move on to. What are we going to, Luxor?
We're going to Luxor next. So we actually do have more tours this afternoon, including the Karnak Temple, which is of course one of the most well-renowned temples in the entire world. We're doing a couple temples in Luxor today, and then we finish our tour in Luxor tomorrow morning.
There's about 15 boats behind us at least getting to this lock today, and there's They are this one boat is really close, as you can see. These guys are good, so we're not too worried. So these boats just come alongside and they tie up and they get dragged by our riverboat, and they try to sell products to everyone who's willing to buy whatever they want to sell. It's funny, they just tie up and get dragged. Okay, so we made it to the locks. Now we're gonna wait our turn and see how this works. Welcome to Karnak. This afternoon we are visiting Karnak Temple. This is actually a complex of about 20 temples and chapels. The primary god that was celebrated here was the god Amun-Ra. There were a bunch of other gods that ended up being honored here and worshipped here eventually. This is a really, really cool complex. It's probably one of the most commonly known temples in the entire world. It's known as the world's largest open air museum. We are in Hippo-style hall right now, which is comprised of more columns than any other temple in the entire world. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it is absolutely understandable to see why. What you're seeing here, this is all original work with a little bit of restoration. Obviously, some pieces have been damaged due to flooding of the Nile River, earthquakes, some human damage, but what you see here, all these engraved pieces, the monuments, the statues, the obelisks, this is all original stuff.
we're finishing what's already been an absolutely amazing day with a trip to Luxor Temple here right off of the Nile. This temple is just as impressive, I think, as the complex of temples we saw earlier at Karnak. These temples both were primarily established to worship the same god, Amun-Ra. You see, though, that over time, these temples both did incorporate the celebration and worship of other gods, and also incorporated the worship of certain pharaohs that at some point the Egyptians did consider to also be godlike. So one of the key pharaohs that's featured here at Luxor Temple is Ramses. He put his stamp on everything. There are statues of Ramses literally everywhere in this temple, and it's really, really cool. They're in phenomenal shape. Again, just like at Karnak, this temple was buried in sand, and they didn't even realize that a lot of this was here until excavations began, and they started unearthing all these different components that were here. So really, really amazing that this survived as many years as it has. This thing is thousands and thousands of years old, almost as old as Karnak, and there's been very little restoration done here. There are some pieces, of course, that have been restored. The other pharaoh that is featured here at this temple, and I'm sure they're not the only ones, but they're the ones that I can remember, and I think most people know, is King Tutankhamun. His father had banned the worship of more than one god other than Amun-Ra, and King Tut actually tried bringing the worship of many gods back to the Egyptian people, and they wanted to pay homage to him here by erecting some cool statues of he and his wife. So really, really cool temple. Again, if you're in Luxor, you absolutely have to come to Karnak and Luxor temples. You will not be disappointed at all.
Good morning. We are making our way up to the Valley of the Kings, and we're going to see 3 significant tombs along with several other tombs. And it's going to be study the first, Tutankhamun and Ramses.
5th and 6th, and they are actually in the same tomb. They are buried together, which is very cool.
So yeah, we're very excited to see this, and hope you are too.
So, like Darren said, we're in Valley of the Kings, and we opted to tack on a few extra tombs to our experience here today, starting with the tomb of Seti the First.
And we were told this is probably one of the largest tombs here in the Valley of the Kings, and it goes deep into the ground, and it's going to be really special for sure.
Really impressive. Very amazing. So it gets hotter, but it's sort of okay. At least it's early, right? And it's not too busy, not too crowded. Yeah, we're being a group up there, so that's what we're like running ahead of them. Thank you so much. Enjoy
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so That was the tomb of Seti I, like we said, and it is unbelievable.
It's so cool. It is so well preserved. We were just talking about how we were really excited whenever we would see little bits of color at the temples we've been going to the last couple days, but that tomb is so colorful. It is so vibrant. You can see the story that's being told and the characters. Now we know more about each of them, and it was worth every extra cent that we paid to go see it. I would totally do that again and again.
Yeah, if you do come here, make sure you pay special attention to the ceiling when you get down into the area where the sarcophagus is stored. You don't actually get to see a sarcophagus. It's through a gate, and you can't get all the way down, but the rest of the tomb is absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, it's truly one of a kind. It's one of the biggest tombs, or it is the biggest tomb here. And, you know, again, you're paying a little bit extra for it, but it's totally worth doing. It's got to be one of the most impressive tombs in the entire world. And to know that it's been down there for thousands of years and it's still in such great shape is really unbelievable.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love that. That's a highlight.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is the tomb of Ramses III.
So when we were at Karnak yesterday, we saw all these statues of Ramses III. He really likes to put his mark on all the temples that are in Egypt, and we now get to see his tomb, which is definitely a highlight here at Valley of the Kings. Our guide told us that this is one we definitely want to go to, and this is something that you get included with your regular ticket. You don't have to pay extra for Ramses III.
Right.
Totally worthwhile.
King Ramses 5 and 6. This is King Tut's tomb, one of the smaller tombs here. Now this is the tomb of King Ramses IX.
All the tombs have been extremely impressive so far, each in their own way. They're all very different, very unique, and we'll explain a little bit more about that towards the end of the video. It's kind of hot, and we're trying to get all these tombs in before it's time to meet back up with our guide, but I'm really excited about this tomb as well. All right, so here at Valley of the Kings, this is such an impressive area for so many different reasons. Not only are there 64 tombs of kings and queens from ancient Egyptian times, some of which we're getting to see today, but you know, our guide Eamon was describing to us the processional, how that would have happened when a king or queen died, and how they would have been, you know, taken through the valley of these sandy mountains. And I can only imagine during ancient times how amazing that must have looked, you know, coming in between these mountains over here. It's just such a cool valley.
Okay, and our final tomb of the day, this is King Ramses IV.
This is also one of the included tombs with the general ticket. So Ramses III, Ramses IX, and Ramses IV are all part of the general ticket. right, now we've gone through 6 tombs, 3 of which were part of our big ticket, or general ticket, 3 of which we paid extra for. And let me tell you, every single one of them was absolutely fantastic. The ones we paid extra for, well worth the money. If I had a suggestion for you, I would do the opposite of what we did, which is do the most expensive tomb last, because if you do it first, it might spoil the others for you, because it's so grand that it almost diminishes how amazing the other 5 tombs are. So each of them is really special for their own reasons. We loved each of them, but like I said, maybe start with some of the others first, like the Ramses tombs and King Tut's and things like that. And then after that, do Seti the first very last, because it really is so spectacular.
Seti is on a different level. It's unbelievably impressive, and the detail, the time, and the architecture, the artwork is unbelievably amazing.
The tender, loving care that went into designing his tomb is really unparalleled. And so it's just extremely special. They're all so special, but his is just, it's on that other level. We had a blast here today at Valley of the Kings. Absolutely worth a visit. And I think it's just a really, really special place. And I would totally come back here.
Absolutely. It's a must do. I didn't know what to expect, and it is a really impressive place.
So special.
Good afternoon, guys. So this is our official wrap-up of our Nile River cruise.
We had an absolutely incredible 4-day cruise. We saw so many interesting things, went to a ton of temples, and finished off with an amazing day in Luxor. We got up early this morning, had our final breakfast, and got off the boat to hit a few more spots here in Luxor. So today we went over to the West Bank, and we started our day with a trip to the Valley of the Kings. And that was absolutely incredible.
Yes, we stopped at, we had a choice of different tombs, but due to our guide's advice, we stopped, or he picked out 3 for us, and then we paid for 3 others that were, spectacular, as you can see.
Absolutely. And actually one was a twofer, because we got two pharaohs for the price of one when we saw Ramses the 5th and 6th. Their tomb is together, which that was really, really cool and unique. So we had a great morning doing that. It was very hot. There's a reason they want to do these tours really early in the morning. It gets very hot here in Luxor. It's like 95, 96 degrees today. It felt like it was already 96 when we went out this morning.
And as hot as it was outside, it was even hotter in the tombs.
Right.
Except for the second one we went in. Which one was that? It was after Set.
That was Ramses the 3rd.
Ramses the 3rd. For some reason, you got down into Ramses. We're getting cool air from the back of that tomb, and no other tomb was like that. It was very hot and stagnant in there.
It was an interesting phenomenon. But yeah, you have a ton of people and a tight space, and you would think as you go deeper and deeper underground that you're going to get cooler, and actually it just got stuffier. So, it is what it is. You have to get there early, do it before it's really the heat of the day, otherwise you'll be probably relatively miserable. After Valley of the Kings, we took a very short drive over to the funerary temple of Queen Hatshepsut.
Or better known as hot chicken soup.
That's what our guide told us, so we could remember it, because it is kind of a odd spelling and very, very hard to figure out how to pronounce.
So as we finish our day out here, we can't thank you all enough for watching, supporting us, and subscribing and giving us feedback. we can't thank everybody enough. We truly appreciate this. It's very new for us again, as you know, and we're doing our best to showcase these amazing destinations for you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video today. Please, if you like it, make sure that you give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share this with all of your friends, family, everyone you meet on the streets, and be sure to stay tuned for our video next week, which takes us up north in Egypt to the city of Cairo, where we have a lot of fun stuff planned as well.